There's nothing that speaks to the aftermath than being on a phone call with your mom for over an hour as she's crying in agony. Her osteoarthritis has ramped up. She's been in pain and suffering for quite some time, but now it's landed on her pelvic bone, her hips. Her wrists went ages ago, but her body can't do it anymore. She physically can't do it anymore, and this is a retirement year, and she's been going 3 jobs at a time, even when we were in that domestic abuse, and she had no money at the end of it. The full control it took over her finances, her life. And he still has that control, doesn't he? Because for over an hour last night, me and my sister had to convince her that she can give in. Yeah? The physical pain that she's in, she deserves to be able to help herself get through it. But my mom and working has been her survival, you know, her independence claimed. No one can judge her name, and it helps her maintain some sort of control over her life that once upon a time she didn't own. The shame, the guilt, the responsibility on everyone in a workplace. But they got no staff. I let them down, never mind me and the bone rubbing on bone in the pain that I go home to feel. The aftermath of abuse in my family story and across this platform is so very real. People are suffering for years in the aftermath of living that regime in which they tell you of their needs. And you have to meet them. You become their every breath. You carry so many elements in the confounds of what they do past that, you know? She's physically in pain. She struggles every day. This milestone of retirement has been a goal. But by the looks of it, she can't quite make that. And she needs to go sick for a little bit so she can prioritize herself. But she can't do that. Her mind won't let her. Back of the queue you go, because that's what your abuser told you years ago. And this is why I speak out. Because when you see your mom suffering like that, when you see your whole family be destroyed by that, because the conversations don't happen, the healing don't happen, and everyone's just in survival doing it their own way. She deserves to feel that pain, and that's messed up. She deserves to say, I can't do this anymore, but she can't. Because that mental back and forth, that mental on a loop in your head, the worry for everyone else, the failure you become, what if the backlash is so real in a non-reality in her home today, but her head is stuck in a place, you know? People go at me for speaking about celebrity and the victim claim. But here's the thing. I see a real victim. I see them every day. People have really suffered and still suffer to this day. Yet they don't want to claim it. They don't want to be it. They do everything, even if it means being leant up a wall, doubled over in pain, because they don't want to feel people looking at them in that shame. Sorry. The aftermath is very real, you know? And they say the bruises go, don't they? But the mental torture stays. And I've watched that every day. I felt it as I started to do the same, you know? People deserve to feel worthy. People, even if it's the pain they're in, they are allowed to give in to it. They shouldn't be worried about everyone else before them when it comes to it. Nearly 30 years ago, she left that domestic abuse. Her body has aged. The mask on her face is starting to fade away because I can see the pain. Yet her mind, her mental struggle and her emotional connection, as she starts to shout out and go, they've got it worse than me. They need me. Because we did that when we went in the refuge, looking out for someone with a worse story than us to either elevate us or degrade us. Because everyone's running away from their story, everyone's running away from that pain, and I watch my mom doing it this very day, and this is why I speak out about the aftermath, because it's so deeply rooted. It's taken people's lives mentally away from living, even within their pain, you know. Anyway, sorry about the emotions. I'm off to work. But there's some, when you watch your mom after all these years still be stuck in that cycle, that loop of that mental torture in which he placed in, you know. Obviously, trigger warning. It's probably a bit late for this. Yeah. Sending prayers and healing vibes her way. The aftermath trickles into everyday life long afterwards, as we all know. Hopefully your mom will allow herself to prioritise her health, and believe me, with me and my sister on the case, she absolutely will be, whether she likes it or not, because I can't not do it anymore. Since I've been doing all of this, I will be open with her and it, you know, and sometimes I have to be careful as I still just round the edge, but I won't ignore it, you know. And the saddest thing here is, like, since I've been doing this, I've had people in their 60s, 70s, 80s just say, thank you for doing this. It's too late for me now. It shouldn't be this. People shouldn't be suffering like this. But this is the danger of domestic violence and the silence that comes with it. You know, that shame, all these feelings, these emotions that my mum's got going through her head. The ones that she prioritizes these emotions in her head over the physical pain and her body is going through. As she carries on that way, she'll take the pain rather than the emotional feeling, you know. And these are the wounds that people don't see of domestic violence. These are the wounds that carry on with you, and because people don't see them, because you don't see them, because they control you in every way, how can you fix them? How can you take them away? And, like, you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but I've watched the aftermath of abuse. I've watched it with my whole family. I know my mom has a completely different emotional attachment to me because she carries the extra layers of guilt because her children grew up in that not so nice story. I know that, but I also know me and my siblings, we have a completely different feeling to her because we couldn't protect her, we couldn't save her, we were crippled with pain and we felt sad in every way, and this is where it repels, because she can't face that because of the guilt and how much it damages her, and we can't speak it because we know it's gonna hurt her. And that's why the aftermath and opening these conversations is so important to me, you know, because I've lived the aftermath. I found myself after my first son. I found myself, and I found a good one, you know. Weren't here to take advantage of me. I was doing life. My head, these wounds, they were there, you know, these emotions. I was acting off these emotions, these impulses, and I was desperately trying to shut them down. I was trying to move past them, but I couldn't, you know, and I hadn't processed any of it. And no matter how well I'd done, it was all lingering, it was all trickling in. It's like a wound, and it's just left to weep and weep in the form of triggers, actions you see and you witness in confrontation, and you're back in, you know. And that's the thing. And my mom was like, you don't understand. And I was like, I know what I see in front of me. I see your wound. I see the wound that people don't see. I see you willing to sacrifice your legs, your wrists, your pain in order to try and make that feeling go away, you know. I see that trauma, that story that you're so scared to return to stood next to you. I see it in your thoughts of shame and blame and who's going to judge me and what they're going to think of me, how gross I am to give up this way because it's weak of me, I'm a failure. That's your trauma right next to you, current day. And that's why it's so important for me that we just dip in, you know, we dip in. And if we can get a bit of validation, we bring it into the now and we use that for when that shame creeps up. So we can go, no, you're the aftermath. You're a wound. You're the mental trauma. And I don't need to listen to you because my pain is a priority over you. Rock, paper, scissors, here we go. You know, it's... People shouldn't be getting to 60, 70, 80 years old where their bodies are giving up, but their emotional damage takes over that, you know? It weeps like a wound in the form of triggers anyway. It stood next to you in that all those emotions, those feelings, those wounds that people don't see, that we hear people speak on, but they don't speak on in this deep way. We're not insane. We are worthy. You are deserving. And if you're in pain, you're allowed to sit in that pain to get yourself better. You're allowed to prioritize you. And when those feelings pop up in your head where you're worried about everyone else instead, you need to question, what is my priority here? Here. You know? It's not okay. It's not okay that people carry on living this way in the aftermath of abuse. And there's not a lot of help out there, and there are waiting list and queues. But if we can all speak openly and we can share our stories, if we can relate to one another and make someone else feel okay today, so they can connect, they can understand that they're not insane today, then this community has to be the way. It has to be the way. My mum's not a part of this community, and so many people have not experienced this wonderful community in which we have got. And it's mad, isn't it? Because my mum's daughter is a massive part of this community, yet even I can't get through and past that trauma in my mum's head most days. And that's the power of it, you know? The damage, we know, that comes from it. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but I'm so passionate about this. I'm so passionate there should be more awareness for the aftermath of it. The fact that your PMT can, that the hormones and the feeling of low can crash in with your PTSD and up the ante on your PMT. That's so important. That's so important with the statistics and the amount of women that suffer abuse. So important to know. It's so important that when you get out of that abuse, that you understand that this is not it, but you form a plan. You understand when it comes for the attack. You get it. This is the aftermath. This is because of that. So many people, I think, have just gone through life. They had their story. They got out and that's it. I'm safe. I'm free. But before they know it, they're plunged back in because they're still living that trauma, those wounds in their head and their fucked up story. You know? Anyhow, I said I was going to go. But yeah, thank you, everyone.